looks like I managed it somehow. Yes. Okay, great. Hold on a second. All right. Now let's do this. So, in the last 2 days or so, I found myself watching these 9/11 documentary videos. I don't know how that happened. It suddenly came in front of me, and as a freak of myself watching documentaries, loving documentaries, I was going on and on watching all of the details of the 9/11 documentaries and how these people experienced this unbelievable events. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched the 9/11 from the documentaries from people who are actually making the phone calls, saying their last goodbyes, saying in desperation how they are feeling, their anxiety and their desperation, being afraid. And it is just so hard to watch, and so I really cried my eyes out for the last 2 days and watching these videos. And it was so important, in my opinion, to see at the end how the survivors, when they are talked about their experiences, and they described it in such a way that it is really that you're feeling yourself inside of that event, of that environment, and what they're going through. You literally feel it with them together. And when you also listen to the people who have died and their family members, their loved ones, how they tell their story about how they experienced receiving the last words, receiving the last goodbyes, receiving or trying to calm them down, knowing that that will be the last time they will see them, right? And how their wisdom is being so expanded that I wanted to share this with you, not only from the survivors' wisdom perspective, but also from the people who have lost their loved ones and the wisdom that they are gained from all of this, and also the wisdom and the totality of the event, not only from New York, people from New York, but also in the United States, and everyone who has a soul, who has a little bit of a heart, who would hopefully see that what I would see, or what these people have been seeing, and what wisdom they've gained from that. So, and at the end of the video, I want to talk about the contrast between this wisdom and what we talked about last week and I keep talking about the fake spirituality and how everything is so fake at this time in the YouTube, with the tarot readers and with the astrologers and the fake cultist, cult leaders, fake spiritual cult leaders, etc. So how the contrast, it was so on point to be able to see. So in this video, I want to bring that together so you can see the contrast. I hope I will give justice to what I have seen and to be able to do the contrast for you. So if you are new here, hi, my name is Dr. Ayguen Sahin, and on this channel I talk everything about everything related to your mental, physical, and emotional health, combining with the sociological perspective and psychological perspective, as well as being a nerd, giving you everything from the scientific perspective and from the scientific background that you can ground this information, and also sharing on the background of science, sharing this information, combining with the history of this world and bringing all of this together, hopefully sharing the wisdom that we can gain all together. So when we watched what happened actually at 9/11, right, when we saw that everything unfolding in front of our eyes, and the people that have experienced what was most the heartbreaking for me was the part when I heard the voices on the phone, the last records of the people who called their loved ones in panic, or when they called 911 and desperately asking for someone to come and rescue them. And you could even hear their last scream as the building, the south building, the second building collapsed, screaming like, oh God, God. And then, it's really hard to not watch it and get emotional, and or that girl who is trying to get help and she said, it's so hot, I can't breathe, and everyone was saying that they can't breathe, right? Inside the buildings with the enormous heat that went up to 2000 Fahrenheit, right? And that smoke, that heavy smoke, and the fire, the fuel that has been leaked from the airplanes, and that enormous heat from the fire that kept burning and burning and burning through the building. And I just can't imagine when we hear the voices, what they have been through. I mean, also when you hear this from the survivors, and how the survivors experience and explain what the hurdle they went through, what mindset they had, and how they overcame. And sometimes you also feel that this is actually a miracle. Like, there's no way this people after the building has collapsed, that they still came out. I mean, it is just so, I always keep saying that, in my videos, that you always have to be on the right side of the road, meaning not only on this earth, but also, like, if you will, spiritually, right? That also in your heart on the right side. You don't have to be spiritual. That's not what I meant. I also want to share the word with you that I found, which is so great. And I think going forward, I would like to use it instead of spiritual, because there's some word that can literally replace that, which is more fitting of what I'm talking about. In any case, and that word came from one of the person who have lost their loved ones, and the sister described the mother how after the the mother lost their son, the sister of the young man describing the mother, how she deals with it. And so that's when she mentioned that word, and I think it was so on point. So when you see how these people coming out of that disaster, burning through and not being able to breathe, and going down, I don't know, 2,000 stairs down, hundreds flights of stairs down in a narrow stairway, in one line, thousands of people, and they only have, I don't know, 10 minutes. It's just, I mean, I really encourage you to watch it, because watch all the documentaries, and also inside the airplanes, how in the first airplane, how the stewardess in the back calls the ground and said, listen, this is happening, and then the other flight, and also stewardess calls her husband and says she's scared, and she says goodbye. And so many emotional moments, and the scarcity that they have, that their overwhelming angst they had in that moment, is really hard to imagine. It is also hard to swallow, also the people around it, when the cameraman was filming outside, and then suddenly the second building collapsed, the south building collapsed. Everyone runs their body out, and the cameraman, he turns the camera to the back so that we can see what's going on behind of him, but he can't see because he's running. And so you can see that the gigantic cloud of ash, of dust, of concrete is following them like a tsunami. As he runs, it comes closer and closer and closer and closer, and then everything is dark. And in fact, that person survived, and he talked about this story that, and I don't want to go too much in detail of this, you can watch all of it, but apparently he was knocked out for 25 minutes, and no one who was talking about couldn't breathe, anyone, because it's just thick of a mixture of concrete, dust, ash, all combined, and it's so thick that no one can breathe. And even the people who were able to get out of the building, and I will talk about this in a second, even the people who were able to go out of the building, after they came out and they hit by the building collapsing, that tsunami of that dust, cloud, concrete, ash mixture, they said, and there multiple people that I watched said that, the survivor said that, okay, now I'm done, like now it's the end. And both of them that I watched said this exact same thing, the hurdle, how they came out, and everything that they did on the inside to be able to get out. And once they got out, when they came up with this tsunami of this cloud, they said, okay, I can't breathe, and that's it. I'm giving up. Apparently, this is the end. And both of them, these are two separate people, both of them said, no, no, I I have to. I have to. And they pull themselves together. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, how can you pull yourself of all the exhaustion? And that's what the body is doing, right? And the moments where we are thinking that it's the end, the body makes this miracle and push all the adrenaline and gives you the last push to go through. I had also experienced that, and the feeling of the final push, it's just so overwhelming, and it's just so, you feel that it's coming out of nowhere. And then they're pushing the last final, and they're just trying to crawl and just find, just without knowing where they are going, trying to find the space and crawling to get out of that cloud. And this is how they made it. And it is just so unbelievable to watch from the survivors, from the outside and from the inside of the building. And then now when we come to the people, the family members who lost their loved ones, for example, there was this one Massachusetts family, this one girl, one boy, and that young lady, she was so young, and she got a job in California, and she was there only one day. She's supposed to be one day only in New York, in the World Trade Center, to observe the merging of the two companies. And she was literally calling her dad, and you can hear her leaving a voice message to her dad. No, actually, yeah, she calls in the call record. She says that in a very anxious and very scared tone, that Dad, I want you to know that I love you, and so many things like that. And then the father tries to calm her down, but he knows that that's pretty much the end, because they don't know what's happening inside, but people from the outside, the family members, know and watch the news and know exactly what happened. So they know, and hearing their voice, the tone of their voice, they know that this is the last moment with them. It is so heartbreaking. I mean, you really need to watch it. It's just so unbelievable. And then when you watch them, how they carry on with their lives, right? It's just, and the wisdom they had after that. And so that lady, the mother who received the voice message from her son, and she said that she, all of these family members who had their loved ones died in that, said that they saved the recording, They saved the voice messages, and they watch it and listen it over and over and over again. But at one point, that the mother said that, you know, how she copes with that is just, she says, it will be a disaster if, or something along those lines, that if she would let herself go and not being able to live her in this in her heart and not continue with her life, and being in that circle of constantly in misery. And that would be the the worst thing that one can do. And then this daughter says about the mother that she is so philosophical about it. And that was the word. Instead of saying she's so spiritual about it, she's so philosophical about it. And I loved that word. I might going forward use that word because that's exactly fitting for me. Just because you see things on another level, it doesn't mean you have to be spiritual. It is the philosophy, the philosophical mind that you have, and you can analyze it from multiple angles. And I think that's what I'm doing. Spirituality is another thing, but also to be able to analyze it on multiple angles, on multiple levels, it's also the philosophy and of life. And so the people who also have survived, including the person who saved 70 people's lives and died himself, the wife, and they had 2 young children. The wife was also in the building, and he also asked her to leave with the people he rescued. And she knew that he would not be coming behind him because he was telling her, I will be right behind of you. But she knew that he would not be behind of her, and keep rescuing people because this is how his personality is. And there were these 2 people, one Fred and one Pablo, who is responsible of rescuing these 70 people from the building. And the majority of the people who talked were actually the survivors due to Fred and Pablo's help. And it's so interesting also in that sense that when we talked, because the Fred also rescued his wife's life, so she was there, so he rescued her life, so she was talking, and Pablo's wife was also talking. But the difference between the 2 is also very interesting to watch, because Fred, who knew the building inside and out, knew how to maneuver and to guide people into the right direction, was able to rescue so many people. And Pablo was a former Marine, and she said that he was so disturbed by the Vietnam war, and that he left so many friends behind. And she believed that this time that he did not want to do that. And that's why he saved so many people's lives for his own life and before his own life. So, but there were so many differences between the two ladies. So the Fred's wife, she kept saying that, you know, that's who he is, that's who we were. He was taking charge, but she was also the tone of her was also resentment a little bit. And she even, and because I was listening to her, I was keep being irritated how the underlying, she had this resentment of like, yeah, he is like that. Yeah, he always wants to, like with a smile, like, yeah, like a sarcastic smile that, yeah, this is him, this is how he is, he wants to take charge, he rescue people without, yeah, risking his own life. But at the very end, then she said exactly what I was saying. And she said, yes, I'm happy that he saved so many people's lives, but I'm also angry that he did not save his life. And at the same time, the other hand, when Pablo's wife was talking, and she said that I'm so proud, I'm so proud that he is the hero of so many people, and he died as a hero, and he is and always will be the hero. So there was a huge difference between how these two wives talking about also their behavior, how they rescued other people, okay? And it is just so important to understand how everyone's wisdom came at that moment. For example, when on the fourth airplane, the young man, his name is Todd, calls his mother, and the mother was also speaking. And we can hear that Todd says to the mother that, you know, of course, everyone in this outside knows what's going on. And also he says that the airplane got hijacked. And so this is, they're taking over the airplane and what have you. But the interesting part is, if you followed what happened, was the plan was each 4 airplanes supposed to have 5 of the hijackers, but one wasn't able to pass United States or enter United States, so they had only 19. So the last airplane had 4 hijackers instead of 5. And then the mother says to Todd, listen, this happened outside in New York and the Pentagon, and you have to take charge of the airplane. This is just like, I don't know. I mean, you have to watch it. It's just so unbelievable when the mother says, you have to take over the airplane. You have to take charge of the airplane. Can you imagine? I mean, then that Todd starts and with the other and encourages the other passengers and start to wrestle the hijackers and take over the cockpit, and they rumble and they're taking over. And this is how the fourth plane crashes in Pennsylvania into the ground and not into the White House. It was just so unbelievable, and it was just so mind-blowing to me to see how people inside the building, when they rescued each other, and how they also putting themselves, while they knew that someone else rescued them, they also try to help others, because then immediately in their brain they're switched into, I have to help too. And that man also said, listen, I am, my life that I'm living here right now, and I'm here, is thanks to Fred, who rescued Fred and Pablo, who saved my life. And if something, of course, God forbid any of this would ever happen, but if I'm ready. I was so heartbreaking. I'm ready to give back. I'm ready to give up my life to rescue others. It was just so unbelievable. And even that there was a man who said, there were two men actually, once they got rescued, they didn't look back, they didn't help anyone, they just run. And they said also both, they were acknowledging that this wasn't that something that they are proud of. It was selfish. That was not something that they would look back in good. And so having also that wisdom of taking the understanding of what they had done was also not okay is also very very, very important to understand what their behavior were, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So it's important also to understand your experiences and to analyze, to be able to analyze it, how these people did, to analyze and acknowledge that this wasn't okay. Just being selfish and just go out and without thinking of anyone. And even the people who did help other people, they were all outside. So it comes down to, in my opinion, also because of other people were still like out there like a miracle. In fact, one person literally that person was also a survivor even when the airplane crashed inside of his office. That he literally says, I mean, imagine this. He said, I was looking outside the window and I saw face to face, eye to eye, like I was literally face to face with an airplane, with a jet coming straight at me. I mean, guys, it's just, imagine that. And then immediately he goes underneath a table, the desk, underneath the desk. Immediately he goes underneath the desk. And guess what? He survived. And someone came in to rescue him. He survived. I mean, that's what I'm saying, guys. It's so important to always, not only on this earth, be always on the right side of the road, as I keep saying it, but also in your heart. Always be on the right side of your heart, of the universe, whatever you want to call it, because that is your groundness is here on this earth with your, I don't know, financial materialistic things, or your career, or your status, or what your family, what your house, your car, whatever it is. But at the same time, what rescues you, what makes you secure in life itself, is your heart, where you stand in the universe on another level. And that's so critical to survive on this planet Earth. It's not just one direction, it's the other direction too. Can we combine this? And that brings me to the last section of when we talked about last week, and in pretty much every time in my videos, we talk about the fake spirituality, fake gurus, like fake, I don't know, the tarot readers, astrologers, what have you, on YouTube, making money like a maniac and manipulating people into things that doesn't exist, doesn't make any sense, or they just make stuff up as they go for money. And the reason why I can't bring this together, because yesterday I ran into, again, the same woman that I talked about last week, this revolution, what have you, and she said something like, I just cannot believe these people. She said something like, that some, I don't know, being on the other side, awakening again, right? This is her thing, like awakening, and you will be on that there will be another side, and she said, you who are watching tarot, you are already on the other side, like awakened or whatever. What? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have to go, if you watch tarot and these astrology channels and what have you, and these fake spiritual gurus, like wannabe gurus, right? If they make money like a maniac, and go and watch this documentary and how these people took charge of their life, and they have the wisdom after this horrendous event, love or death event, other than you sitting on your behind at home in your comfy cozy pajamas, watching tarot, watching astrology, and then, oh, I'm awakened. That's what is this? Have you ever been, hopefully never, but I can't imagine that you haven't been in a situation in your life where you're like, okay, you know what? That's it. Or, I mean, I'm not talking about a breakup or whatever. It can be horrendous, yeah, but more severe where you're like, that's it. I mean, for me, I have, experienced so many things that twice I was in the live or die situation. In 2019, I almost would say, okay, that's it. I actually can't breathe. And that I said, okay, that's right now, right here, you're gonna die. I mean, that changed you so much of how you see the world. You don't have to have tarot, what have you, with you. And then before that, in 2000, I don't know, 2007? No, that wasn't, not before the United States. It was like 2002 or something, 2002, 2003. I was in a race, in a mountain bike race, and it was like I was in another country. It was like 45 degrees Celsius, and in the summer I was just I I was like literally to Ayguen speaking like, okay, Ayguen, you're gonna die right now, right here. I was dehydrated. I couldn't drink. I was exhausted. I had zero energy, and then something pushes, like the other Ayguen pushes you, like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Come on. And yeah, my medal is still here, but you know, that experiences, or I was in the Boston bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing. I experienced that. At that day, I wanted to go. Like, I had a plan. I wanted to go. And that day, the whole morning, I was like, oh no, I don't want to, I don't know. Should I go? Shouldn't I go? I don't, but I had a plan. The whole time I was going that year again. Something like dragged me and like, oh, I don't want to go. I want to go, but something was holding me back inside. I was like lazy and and if I would have been there, I would have been right at that point where standing where the bombing actually happened, right in front of the train station. And so I can't, and for 1 week, they couldn't find, they had to chase for 1 week after the two guys. And they were passing my home. And we had so there was we couldn't leave our homes. It was forbidden, so we couldn't leave homes, and I was scared to even put the trash out because they can be anywhere, right? And so the terror, like the horrendous anxiety that you have, I mean, I don't wish this to anyone. And then I was, when the coup in Turkey that happened, was it 2017, 16 or something, 17, that when the coup happened, that I was there. That was overnight waking up, and I was like, what? It was like a war. And on top of you was flying F-16 jets. Have you ever heard F-16 flying over you? It's like it's like a bomb, like, because they are flying faster than the what's it called, the wave of the sound. They are faster than, so it's like an explosion when they are flying over you. It's like, I mean, it's not like, it's like when they fly over you. That it was like, and you felt like the home is getting bombed. This is how you hear it. So when you experience all of this, I mean, I know, and you know, it's undescribable how people in the war zone in Gaza, and how can people be so ignorant about how these things are happening in the world, and not having compassion about anything, and then sitting on your behind and then watching tarot and feeling enlightened because some tarot reader tells you so, or astrology, and this will happen, and you're sitting on your couch in your pajamas and like, okay, I'm enlightened now because I'm now on the other side because I'm watching tarot. What kind of BS is this? And so we need to really just calm ourselves down and really watch the documentaries of things around the globe, of the happenings around the globe, and so see if you can feel inside of it. If you don't feel any emotion, and if you don't feel touched by it, then there is a huge psychiatric problem. Not psychological problem, but psychiatric problem if you don't feel empathy whatsoever. If you feel like I'm selfish, like I don't care, then there's a huge psychiatric problem. So test it to yourself. Then even, and then you're reading tarot, what have you, would not even work. And also if you feel emotional, if you feel empathy, it doesn't also mean that you're somehow enlightened, that you feel these emotions. It's a human nature. And there you can see, if you watch these survivors and the people who lost their family members, they don't have to be enlightened to be these heroes and heroines and be these survivors. They don't have to be enlightened. They don't have to, none of them was spiritual or anything, or they talked about God, or they don't talked about anything spiritual. It's just the event and how human body reacted to all of this. And the human body, not only physically with the adrenaline and with all the push, the strength that the body at that moment has, but also mental strength that I will take charge. And people who took charge were the ones who got out. People who stood there waiting, doing nothing, they were all dead. But the people who took charge of their lives took charge and said, okay, I have to get out. I can't wait to anyone telling me stop and waiting, because there was an announcement, and unfortunately that was the most horrendous mistake, that the people on the second building, they said, you stay where you are, don't leave the building. And people actually, in documentary, people went go down and they were blocked by the security saying, go back into your offices. Imagine that. That was a humongous mistake, telling them to go back into their offices. And so the people who on the first building who didn't listen of staying put, no, they said, I have to find a way to get out. And that those people who took charge, and also the people who are mentally strength in their minds, that can actually push the adrenaline out, that's the science behind of it, those people were alive, beside the fact that miracles also did happen. And so this is the analysis, and I would highly encourage you to watch those documentaries and then come back and comment down below here of what your thoughts are. And can you, when you do the analysis on another philosophical level, also together to see the mental strength they had that pushed their physical strength. Because imagine going, I don't know, 100 flights of stairs down, thousands of stairs in a matter of 10 minutes. Imagine this, right? And then a woman's face is completely burned out, and her arms, and she was dropping the skin, and she survived. They rescued her too. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. This was a very interesting way to not only to see what happened in a way and hear the voices, but also when you compare it to today's fakeness of people sitting on their couch and then talking like this and making others believe that this is somehow what they're supposed to be doing while making these people rich. So that's not awakening, that's not spirituality, that's not philosophy, that's just 21st century BS. So Let me know what you think, and I invite you now to go to the second live where we talk about the upcoming year, right? What's ending right now and what's beginning, and have a very, very interesting message for you. So I see you in the next video right after this. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.